No passwords were leaked, no insiders flipped, no hacker in a hoodie smashing keys in the dark. And yet, $600 million vanished in under 15 minutes. The system wasn't broken into, it was followed exactly as designed. And that design was flawed. Because once you see what really happened here, one thing becomes clear. DeFi didn't get attacked, it sabotaged itself. August 2021. Crypto is flying, NFTs are printing money, DeFi feels unstoppable. And right in the middle of that hype sits Poly Network, a cross-chain bridge designed to move assets between blockchains like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon. The pitch was simple: no banks, no friction, just code moving billions instantly. Developers loved it, investors trusted it, users barely questioned it because everything looked automated, audited, and boring. Which, in crypto, is the most dangerous word of all. Because while everyone was busy chasing yields and tweeting rocket emojis, one tiny piece of infrastructure, something almost nobody paid attention to, was quietly holding the keys to hundreds of millions of dollars. And it was about to be tested, violently. The official explanation came fast, and it sounded comforting. Poly Network had suffered a highly sophisticated external attack. A smart contract vulnerability was exploited. Funds were transferred without authorization. A familiar crypto headline, the kind people skim, nod at, and forget. According to the narrative, this was simply another reminder that DeFi is still experimental, that cutting-edge technology comes with risk, that bad actors exist and sometimes they win. Case closed. And technically, none of that was false, but it was carefully incomplete. Because no firewall failed, no private keys were stolen, no admin account was compromised, no employee clicked a sketchy link half asleep at 3 a.m. There was no dramatic breach. Instead, the attacker did something far more disturbing. They followed the rules. They submitted a message, the contract verified it, the bridge approved it, and the funds moved cleanly, automatically, and exactly as the system was designed to allow. No alarms, no resistance, which leaves a question the official story quietly avoids. If nothing broke, if nothing was bypassed, then what exactly was the exploit? This wasn't a system being overpowered, it was a system giving control away. No alarms, no resistance, just a silent approved. The real problem wasn't buried deep in the codebase. It wasn't hiding behind encrypted doors or obscure exploits. It was sitting in plain sight. The attacker didn't smash through the bridge. They were recognized as part of it. At the center of Poly Network was a contract responsible for validating cross-chain messages, the final authority deciding which instructions were allowed to move millions, sometimes billions, across blockchains. That contract had absolute power, and it trusted far too easily. By crafting a forged governance message, one that looked structurally correct, the attacker slipped straight through the system's logic. There was no cryptographic identity verification, no contextual validation, no pause to ask whether this instruction actually made sense, just execution. This wasn't elite cyber warfare. It wasn't a zero-day pulled from the dark web. It was a permission system with no skepticism. Imagine a vault that opens because a note says authorized, not because anyone confirmed who wrote it or whether they should have had access in the first place. And that's what most people missed. Nothing here was secret. The code was open. The rules were visible. The assumptions were baked in from day one. But in DeFi, speed beats caution. Shipping beats auditing, and security is treated like a patch, not a foundation. Poly Network didn't get unlucky, it got exposed. And once that door was open, there was nothing left to stop what came next. Not code, not people, not time. Once control was handed over, the collapse didn't hesitate, it accelerated. What began as a single transaction quickly triggered a chain reaction, one approval unlocking another, authority compounding on itself. Funds started pouring out across Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon. One bridge, 3 blockchains, all bleeding at the same time. There were warning signs almost immediately, unusual contract calls, transfers that didn't match normal patterns, amounts that made engineers pause. but denial arrived faster than panic. At first, it was dismissed as a glitch, then a configuration issue, then a temporary anomaly that would resolve itself. And while explanations were being drafted, the money kept moving. By the time Poly Network froze the system and issued public alerts, more than $610 million had already been rerouted into wallets controlled by the attacker. 15 minutes, long enough to drain a protocol, short enough that no human response could keep up. The most absurd part, nothing was hidden. Every transfer was public, every address was visible. The entire collapse played out on-chain, a perfectly transparent disaster unfolding in real time. Fear spread instantly, bridges became suspect, and across DeFi, a question began to surface, quietly, then loudly. If this could happen here, where else was the same flaw waiting? Then the story took a turn no one predicted. The hacker stopped. No final cash out, no escape into mixers, no victory lap. Instead, messages appeared on-chain, calm, almost casual, claiming the attack wasn't about money at all. It was for fun, a warning, a lesson for the DeFi industry. And then the unthinkable happened. The funds started coming back. Hundreds of millions, returned piece by piece, as if the largest DeFi hack in history had decided to feel guilty. It would have been funny if the stakes hadn't been so high. But the money wasn't the real damage. That part came later. When most of the funds were returned, the tone shifted almost overnight. The headlines softened, the panic faded, crisis averted, disaster reversed. But the damage didn't vanish, it mutated. Poly Network survived on paper, but trust didn't recover nearly as fast. Developers quietly rewrote critical sections of code. Teams scheduled emergency audits. Investors didn't announce exits, they just pulled capital and stopped talking. And users? They began treating bridges less like infrastructure and more like loaded weapons. Useful, powerful, and always one mistake away from catastrophe. Across DeFi, security audits exploded, not as a sign of confidence, but fear. Every cross-chain bridge suddenly looked like a single point of failure waiting to be exploited in the same way. Because the harsh truth was impossible to ignore. Nothing about this flaw was unique. The same design philosophy, speed over skepticism, automation over restraint, was embedded across dozens of protocols, which meant Poly Network wasn't an anomaly, it was a preview. When a system moves billions based purely on logic, without judgment, context, or hesitation, a single mistake doesn't just cause a bug, it creates a blast radius, one that reaches far beyond a single protocol. The Poly Network hack wasn't a story about a villain. It was a story about belief. Belief that code is neutral. Belief that automation equals safety. Belief that if something is decentralized, it must be resilient. But code doesn't understand intent. It doesn't feel hesitation, and it doesn't care how much money is on the line. That day, $600 million didn't vanish because someone broke the rules. It moved because the rules were written wrong. And as DeFi keeps racing forward, faster bridges, bigger flows, higher stakes, the real question isn't whether another hack will happen. It's whether the next one will give the money back. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more cool stuff they don't teach you at school.